All right, what's going on, guys? I'm live here doing my first Q&A. Hopefully it's working for you. We had a few technical difficulties and I think we're up and running. Unfortunately, I had to change the link a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and share in the original link where it is. So give me a second for that. But of course, as you guys know, you may have seen me that I tested it all out and everything was good to go on my end. And then, of course, it didn't work. So I'm just going to go ahead and share this. And like I said, if you're not watching this live, today is Monday, October 3rd, and it is 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific. So definitely, if you guys aren't watching at this very moment, you know that that's when the video is starting. I'm going to go ahead and share this real quick on the actual page, but so hopefully you guys can get on and be able to see it okay. And basically what I'm going to cover today is a few different things. So we're going to go over a few of the top news stories that are going down in the industry right now, some of the latest updates to the Uber app, and then also I'm going to do a Q&A, and that's going to be sort of the focus of this session where you can go ahead and ask me anything. So definitely make sure you stay tuned to the end because I'm actually doing a little bit of a giveaway. So I'll be giving away a little Rideshare guy swag. So I've got it right here. And let's see, let me try this on so you guys can see. So this is what I'll be giving away a little bit. And you guys can check it out. Some got a few different colors, so if white isn't your color, you can check that out. And I'll be picking 3 winners at the end. I'll figure out how to do that, but I'll have you guys send my info. So if you can make it to the end and listen to me for about an hour, you'll be entered into a little drawing that we do to basically give you guys a little swag. So feel free to say hi. It looks like we got a couple people on so far. Kelly Norris, hey, how's it going? And Scradgy, how's it going? So hopefully the audio and video is sounding good. Like I said, this is my first YouTube live, so hopefully everything is sounding good and looking good on your end. I'm going to go ahead and check one last time, make sure everything is okay on my end, and then we'll get started. So, like I said, so you guys kind of know now what we're covering and everything that's going to be going on. Let me know if the audio and video is sounding good. Looks like we've got a few people coming on. It's going to be about an hour and we'll cover lots of topics. So feel free. I want to do a little icebreaker. Let me know where you guys are from. Let's see what else. I just had some Doritos for a little snack. So let me know maybe your favorite flavor of Doritos chips too, if you're a chip person. So I'll do a little icebreaker and start letting me know. So awesome. Thanks for everyone for joining. Royce, sounds like everything is clear. Audio is a lot better than in my test run. If you guys watched my test run, it didn't go too well. I wouldn't say that it didn't go well, but it just wasn't perfect. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one and definitely start chiming in. But yeah, so like I said, I'm going to go over a few top stories right now. Kind of one of the big things that's been on a lot of drivers' minds lately is obviously the self-driving cars. So yeah, and Cool Ranch is definitely the coolest. I just had a bunch of Cool Ranch chips, so hopefully you guys enjoy those as much as I do. But yeah, self-driving cars has been a topic that's been on a lot of drivers' minds. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to chime in right now. Let me know if you have any questions about that. But in short, obviously Uber made this big press release announcement the other week where they invited dozens, 60, 70 journalists to Pittsburgh, and basically everyone got to test drive these self-driving cars, right? And I sort of use that term loosely because these self-driving cars, if you guys have ever ridden in a Tesla, it was basically a Tesla, right? These cars required engineers, and they required basically 2 engineers in the car at all times, and they weren't really self-driving cars. If anything, they were more really just kind of like regular old cars. And for me, it was sort of this PR press release state, this big thing where they had a bunch of journalists come. And honestly, I think self-driving cars are a ways off, but definitely been looking into it. And I'll share right now an article that I actually wrote about some of the biggest challenges. So that's sort of one thing that, I've noticed. There's definitely some challenges. And so it looks like we have a comment coming in. Nothing we can do about the issue. Uber can do whatever they like. We just have to deal with the outcome. And that's sort of a good way to look at it. I actually like that line of thinking because you're right, right? Uber is going to go and, just like I tell people with signing up new drivers, right? They're going to be signing up as many drivers as they can. They're going to be going and getting self-drivers as they can. Looks like Rideshare guy, contributor Christian says snow is going to be a big challenge. Luckily, we don't have to worry about that because we're in California. And if you guys check out the link that I sent right there, I talk about some of those challenges, right? Because the technology side of self-driving cars is definitely a challenge, but at the same time, honestly, I think those problems are going to be solvable, right? Eventually. Uber has some smart people working on this problem. Take a little water, talking a lot, and have no guests, so I'm going to do a lot of the talking, but Uber has a lot of smart people working on this problem, and really sort of what I've found in my experience is that there are a lot of challenges, though, that Uber is going to face, and it's not going to necessarily be on the tech side, right? It's going to be on the regulation side. So if you guys go through my article and check out, you'll see that I talk about some of the regulation, even some of these kind of issues that you guys deal with as a driver everyday basis, like more on the incorrect pin drop, right? Dealing with drunks, right? Lost items. I think that Uber really underestimates a lot of the things that human drivers do, right? Because that's one thing I've sort of noticed, and I touched on in my article, is that there is oftentimes a disconnect if you're an employee working at Uber as a corporate employee and what it's like to actually be a driver. And I think for a lot of them, self-driving cars are this topic where, hey, we'll be able to figure this out. But I think maybe they underestimate just exactly what drivers do. So I'm going to read off a couple comments. Let's see what we've got coming in here. Rideshare Genius says, regulation, what regulations? Travis K. So that sounds like a good quote. And you're right. Ed kind of chimes in on the comments section that there's no way that they'll be ready for at least 5 years. And I think that you're right as far as timeline, when cars will actually be self-driving, because those self-driving cars in Pittsburgh right now, I mean, these cars can't, they can't handle snow. They can't handle bridges. They can't handle pedestrians, right? There are a lot of things that they can't do. But I do think it's a solvable problem. So, when it's 5 to 10 years, definitely it's it's coming along. But I think that as drivers going forward, right, keep that in mind, right? There's going to be opportunities for drivers with self-driving cars. You're not going to wake up one day and see a whole fleet of self-driving cars and there's no more human cars. I think there's going to be opportunity. And the question is how big of that opportunity is. Honestly, just the last thing I want to touch on with self-driving cars, we'll get into a little more of the Q&A, is that really what you see with Uber is that's not their model right now, right? Self-driving cars, owning all these cars isn't their model. So if anything, that's going to be a huge shift for them. And so if you guys think about it, right, there may still be an opportunity to use a hybrid fleet of self-driving cars and people. So definitely lots of interesting things there. I'm going to check out the questions right now. So also, if you guys do have questions, definitely I would say save them if they're not kind of related to what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about self-driving cars, so it's going to be kind of hard for me to answer a question on taxes and maintenance and things like that. So definitely save those till the end. But if you have any questions or any comments about kind of the topics I'm going over right now, definitely let me know. If there's any other news stories you guys want to discuss, feel free to let me know. One other cool thing, cool thing for me that I kind of want to touch on are a couple of the updates to the Uber app lately. So one that's not so cool, which I know a lot of drivers have been complaining to me about, and I actually had happen to me too recently driving, was now Uber is actually forcing second Uber Pool passengers on drivers, right? So in the past, when you're doing Uber Pool, you get a request, you see that it's Uber Pool, it comes in, and then you have the option basically to accept or ignore that second request when it comes in. And as you guys have probably noticed, if you've driven in the past 2 to 3 weeks at all, Uber is now requiring that you accept that second passenger. It's basically automatically being added, which I believe Lyft has been doing for a while. So that's definitely an interesting update to the app. And I mean, I guess my initial thoughts are, first, one thing I noticed is that if you're actually on iPhone, you actually get it automatically added and you have to stay in the Uber navigation, right? So me personally, and I know a lot of other drivers prefer Google Maps, some prefer Waze. And so if you're on Android, you can actually stay in Google Maps or stay in Waze on these forced second Uber Pool passengers. But if you're on iPhone, it's actually going to come in and you're going to have to use that Uber navigation. So, I mean, just talking about some of the positives, obviously some of the positives of this feature are the fact that you no longer have to kind of like jiggle around and look down at your app going 60 miles an hour on the freeway or while you're driving to accept a ride. And, you know, not that it's super hard, but obviously I never thought that it was the safest of features. So it seems like we have a couple comments coming in from Kelly Norris. Hey, Kelly, and Rideshare Genius. Rideshare Genius, what's going on? And it definitely, I think that it does increase the safety. Now, obviously, the biggest complaint that I'm hearing for drivers is that it's forcing you to do something, right? And it sort of goes back to that whole independent contractor argument that, hey, are we independent contractors or not? As an independent contractor, should you be forced to accept Uber pool request? And I will say that that's sort of a whole nother argument in itself, and that's sort of business. I think that Uber definitely has the right to make you do certain aspects of the business, to make sure that their business runs smoothly. You still have control, though. I mean, you can obviously, on that first pool request, if you don't want to take the pool request, you have the option to ignore that request. So that's still on you. And if you guys don't know Uber's new acceptance policy, hopefully I can pull it up real quick. But basically, their new acceptance rate policy says that you don't have to. I'm going to share this real quick. So their new acceptance rate policy says that you don't have to, or you can ignore as many trips as you want, right? And you can no longer be deactivated for low acceptance rates. So that's one thing that you guys can kind of use to your advantage. Now, they are timing drivers out after 2 or 3 missed requests, so kind of have to balance that. But hey, so you do have some control in that respect. So if you guys have any other questions about that, definitely let me know. And it looks like Kelly says, but you can pause the incoming rides at any time, right? And you actually, I think I tested this with Uber Pool, and you guys can feel free to chime in on the comments, but when you go use that toggle offline button, I don't actually think that will work with this Uber Pool feature, because Uber, the thing is, Uber is obviously, they are adding this feature, I think, partly for safety, but probably also because a lot of drivers are ignoring that second request. So I'm pretty sure that if they haven't done it, they will soon take that offline feature, so that if you do go offline after you receive that first Uber Pool request, you still will be getting Uber Pool, second Uber Pool riders. So hopefully that kind of explains that feature. We're actually going to have an article on the site coming out this week. So from one of our contributors who's been testing it a lot, John in Atlanta, who you guys may recognize from the YouTube channel. So if you guys haven't subscribed to the blog, I'm going to share that link right now. It's at therideshareguide.com/email. Super simple. And then you guys can make sure that you're getting all our blog posts delivered to you daily whenever we release a new article. So that's definitely one cool thing you should sign up for. We'll go into detail on that kind of whole Uber Pool feature and what it means. So that's actually a good question. Corey just asked, it would be a really good question. Do you have any inside info on when some of the other Uber features will come to cities like Charlotte? They don't have Uber Pool, they don't have Uber Select, they don't have Uber Eats. Well, I think that a lot of drivers in Charlotte are probably happy that you don't have Uber Pool. Uber Eats, though, and Uber Select might be kind of some of the downsides of living in these smaller to mid-sized markets. Typically what happens with Uber is that they're testing these products. They're testing new services in a certain market, right? Typically it's a lot of the bigger markets, LA, San Francisco, major markets, and they test it. And then they're going to go and launch it into these other markets. So I don't know that I can give a great answer on the actual timeline, but it does typically happen maybe 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months. And that's what we saw with the Uber Destination feature, which is another one, that I think is pretty cool for drivers and is definitely one that's benefiting a lot of drivers. So I wrote an article about that. I can kind of touch on the destination feature right now, but that's one that was actually tested in a few different cities. And I actually tested it in some small cities before they went and launched it to a bunch of bigger cities. So honestly, I think I tend to agree with a lot of you guys that I'm not a big fan of Uber Pool, and I see Christian in the comments, so hopefully he can share some of these links that I'm talking to, because we've done a lot of articles on Uber Pool and sort of the pricing and things like that. So you guys can definitely check out more there, or just search the YouTube channel. So hopefully that's some good insight on some of these product features. If there's anything else you guys kind of want to know about these product features, definitely write these questions down. And like I said, with this session, this is actually the first YouTube live that I've ever done. If you're just tuning in, make sure you stay tuned to the end. I'm going to be doing a little swag giveaway at the end. Here's the hat, white got lots of other colors, but I'll be doing a little, actually, why don't I show you guys a couple of the other colors? So we got, right here, we got more of like a, what would you call this? I don't know. Gold? I'm really colorblind. So, and then we got a red one here. And we have lots of other colors. But I'll even let you guys pick the color and give those out at the end. So if you guys can stick with me for an hour, it'll probably be about an hour. If you guys can stick with me all the way to the end, I'll make sure to hook you guys up with some swag. So yeah, we'll be live until about 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you guys aren't watching on Monday, October 3rd at 5 to 6 p.m., this is going to go up on the YouTube channel, and you guys will be able to get all this information there. And I'll definitely make sure that you kind of see some of that. So definitely, and one article that we've had that's been super popular lately that Christian sort of did a lot of great research into, and we covered pretty in depth, was Uber's new upfront pricing, and that's sort of a whole nother can of worms. But that's sort of one of the reasons why it is important to stay on top of some of these new features. And the upfront pricing is basically what happens when Uber is now requiring riders to enter their destination, and then they're sort of calculating an estimated fare and charging that to the rider regardless. But the problem we discovered and Christian discovered was that they're actually overestimating it, in some cases significant amounts. So that's something that we're sort of staying on top of, and hopefully Christian, you can go ahead and share that link in the comments, and we'll leave all these links in the show notes too that I mentioned at the end of it. But yeah, so sort of transitioning now into, we've kind of covered some of those latest app updates. There's a few other small ones, so if you guys have any questions on that, just feel free to let me know in the comments below. And from now on, I think with the last 30 or 40 minutes, I kind of want to really give you guys the opportunity to do a full Q&A. I'm going to go back right now and review some of these questions so that I can make sure that I answer some of them. I will hopefully get to answer all of them, but if for some reason I don't get to answer your question or you really want it answered, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube channel. I try to respond to every comment on the YouTube channel, but I get a lot, so I do occasionally miss one. If you want to guarantee that you'll get a response, feel free to email me, harry@therideshareguy.com, and I still respond to each and every single email, and it takes a lot of time, but I really enjoy doing it and helping you guys out, so definitely feel free to take advantage of me there. So, let's start answering some of the questions. I want to help you guys and kind of answer everything that you might have and kind of use this opportunity. Hopefully it will go well, and in the future I'll be able to bring on other people. So we've sort of covered kind of a few of the top news stories, some of the features that Uber has been adding, and now we'll go into this live kind of Q&A. And so I think one of the first questions I'm getting right now is from Emily, and Emily Mazel. So definitely recognize the name. And also, yeah, feel free to just reach out and let me know. If you guys are just joining late, let me know where you guys are from so I have a good idea how long you've been driving. Any of that type of stuff would be cool for me to know as I'm going. And Emily actually is asking a question. Do you have any tips for tracking mileage and filing taxes? So Rem, yes, I am going to be answering the questions right now. So Emily's asking about mileage tracking and filing taxes. And I know I get kind of long-winded on some of my YouTube videos, so I'm going to give you guys the answer straight up front, and then I'll go into a little more detail. But I'm a big fan of Stride Drive. They're on iOS only right now. They're free. They give you guys exactly what you need, and it's one of the biggest expenses. So if you need something right there, go start with it. I'm going to leave a link right now. And this, these links, typically the links that I use to products are going to be my affiliate products. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind and a way to support the site. But I would say that that's one of the most important things, because if you're going to do anything regarding tracking mileage or anything like that, calculating expenses or just doing a good job documentation, tracking mileage is the big thing, right? Not a lot of people realize that you're doing 1,000 miles a week as a full-time driver, and in 2016, at a 54-cent per mile deduction, that's $540, right? So if you're making $1,000 a week and doing really well, you get to deduct $540 off of that right off the top. So the IRS is only going to see that you made $460. So you're only paying taxes on $460 a week. And if you're only making $460 a week times 52 weeks, my math is really bad, but I'm assuming that's only a few thousand or $10,000 or something like that. Is that right? Yeah, maybe $5,000, $10,000. And you're going to be in a very low tax bracket. So that's sort of one of the really important things. I'm a big fan of Stride Drive. We also talk a lot about QuickBooks Self-Employed. That's another one of our direct advertising partners. Full disclosure, disclosure. So we do get paid when you guys sign up through some of these links. But the reason why I also like QuickBooks Self-Employed as a product, and it does have a monthly fee, but it integrates with TurboTax. So if you're doing your taxes anyways, I mean, I used TurboTax in the past. I'm a big fan of TurboTax in general and a lot of those products. It sort of gives you a more holistic point of view, right? If you want to go beyond just the mileage tracking, if you want to really start calculating your profit and loss, if you want to start thinking about how it relates into your taxes, right? That's sort of like the next level up. So that's sort of how I look at it. Hey, if you're only going to do one thing and you're only going to track your mileage, Stride Drive is that good option. If you kind of want to take things to the next level, maybe pay a few bucks, it might be whatever, a few dollars a month, but at the same time, if the return is there, it's going to be worth it. So that's what I would recommend, because there are some paid versus free products. And typically, if you're going to pay for a product, I mean, guys, I'm cheap. So if you guys are going to pay for a product, just make sure that you're getting a return on your investment. And I think with a lot of these, you really are, because like I said, right, even just deducting, and we have a really good article that is, if I can remember, what are all the mileage, something about mileage that we have up on the site that Christian just wrote. I'm kind of butchering the article, but it definitely is a great article that really highlights, because if you guys just use Uber and Lyft's on-trip mileage, you're not going to be taking full advantage of your full mileage deduction. So that's something definitely important. And let's see. Oh, one other kind of question is, Maria is asking about kind of mileage tracking, right? So you can take the standard deduction, and I'm not going to get too into this because it is a little complex. You guys can research this a little more on your own. We'll leave links and show notes and all that kind of good stuff. But you can do the standard mileage deduction versus tracking your own expenses. And if you're going to go with something like that, you almost have to have one of those really in-depth tracking programs, or one of those, a paid product like QuickBooks Self-Employed, because at the end of the year, you'll be able to calculate the difference and see what you come out better ahead with. So that's sort of one of those on the mileage tracking. So I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to take a little sip of water. And I should also give a little quick shout out to this product. This isn't one of my advertisers, but I love this water bottle. I always use it because I drink a lot of water when I'm driving and things like that. And the Hydro Flask is this really cool water bottle. This is a really completely off topic of rideshare, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. It's this insulated. I don't even know how it works, but basically just you put ice in it and then water, and it keeps your water cold and the ice in there for like 2 to 3 days. I have no idea how it works, but it works really well. So if you like cold water, it's like the best investment you can ever make. All right, so kind of shifting a little bit away from the mileage tracking, I want to talk about maybe something a little more fun, a little more sexy. Are there any sexy topics in rideshare? I don't know. But yeah, actually an interesting question that I just saw right now is headrest tip covers. So that's an interesting thing that I know a lot of drivers have been experimenting with, and we have an article on tipping. And Uber tip sign, I believe was an article called, I'll leave a link right now. But we did a couple articles on this. We've tested it, and definitely I will say that a lot of these drivers that are using tip signs right now, it's definitely working. I would say that if you're already maybe struggling with your rating, because some riders are not going to be in love with the fact that you have a tip sign, but I think it's all about how you present it, right? So if you guys are out there using tip signs or a tablet or something like that, right, there's lots of different options that you can do. I will say that a lot of the drivers that are using it are having success in getting tips on Uber, because as you guys know, on the Lyft app, passengers can actually tip on the app, right? Which is one of the reasons why I think makes Lyft super friendly to drivers. And obviously you get tips on maybe 20 to 40% of the rides. But with Uber, there's no in-app tipping option, which is obviously this huge point of contention between drivers and Uber. And we've covered that a million times in the past, so I won't get too in-depth, but I will say that drivers are using these tip signs as a way of educating their passengers and saying, hey, there isn't this way to tip. A lot of passengers are under the impression that tips included. Wrong. Or they're under the impression that they can't tip your driver. Wrong, right? And so it's sort of this whole big thing between drivers and Uber, but at the same time, I know some drivers are using these tip signs to their success. So think about it. be smart about it, right? If you're struggling with your ratings and you're already having trouble just maintaining a 4.6 or 4.7, probably shouldn't use a tip sign. If you're a 4.8, 4.9 star rated driver, you're going above and beyond already. I don't know, some drivers provide like a Wi-Fi hotspot or something like that, and then you throw a tipping headrest cover, you're now giving them a reason to tip you, right? If you're just expecting tips though and not doing anything to provide exemplary service, you might get low ratings. So I'd think about it like that. If you're going to go with one of these cash boxes, which are cool, Ed just mentioned a cash box, tipping headrest covers. I think I have a cool one that I just mentioned in that article that I mentioned. I just linked to one of the drivers that I found actually pretty cool. He went and took basically with our permission, took the sign, created them, listed them on eBay for like 10 or 15 bucks. And so that was kind of cool. But yeah, just kind of taking that initiative. And I think I put a link in the article because I was so impressed with what he did and made a cool little laminated sign. So if you're looking for a little easy way to do that. And then, yeah, you're right. Uberman does have some cool tipping headrest covers. I'm a big fan of Uberman's channel, so I'll give him a little shout out there. Go see what he has. I think he has some cool ones that actually like are stretchy material and stretch over the headrest covers. So Uberman, definitely check those out. He's another good YouTube blogger if you guys haven't checked him out. And I think that's about it on tipping. There's a lot we could go into, but I think I'll try to hit more and more questions. I think one of the other questions I saw came in from Jose Reyes. And if I don't get to your question, guys, just keep on, maybe copy and paste it so that I keep on seeing it, because the way this works for me is that I see a chat scrolling down. And so if I don't catch your question, I sort of have to, it's hard for me to scroll back up and see it. And Jose asked a question, and I also have Christian in the comments sort of trying to respond to a lot of you guys. If you guys don't know Christian, he's been with me. He's actually working full-time for me now with a lot of content and advertising and partnerships. So he's very knowledgeable too. He's answering questions in the comments for you guys too. So Jose asked, my question is about whether doing DoorDash or Postmates and other platforms or doing Uber more hours, right? So basically, should you just focus all your time on Uber, or should you look to diversify with services like a Postmates or like a DoorDash? And these are actually two services that I've tried personally, right? So I've signed up for Postmates, I've signed up for DoorDash, I've gone out and done it. And I can say that from a business perspective, it's smart to diversify your income, right? You might be in a city, LA, San Francisco, or really wherever you are, and you're making a ton of money just on Uber. Maybe you're getting promotions, maybe you're getting guarantees, whatever. Maybe you got a huge sign-up bonus and you're taking advantage of Uber. That's great. Do what's best for you. But at the same time, I want you to keep in mind that there are times where it makes sense to diversify, right? And if you wait until it's too late, like let's say, good example, this past weekend, the Uber app was down for 20 to 40 minutes on Saturday night, right? Was that when it was down? And it wasn't working. So a lot of drivers, weren't able to get on Uber, right? A lot of passengers weren't able to take rides on Uber. And I think this was like a 20 to 40 minute outage. So that's a pretty long outage, right? And you're not able to make any money. And I believe it even happened. I can't remember the exact time, but let's say it happens at 2 a.m., right? In the peak of surge. It's always good to have that backup plan. Now, in that scenario, it's good to have Lyft as a backup plan, right? If the Uber app goes out at 2 a.m., you can imagine how many people are going to switch over to Lyft. And you can imagine just how much prime time there's going to be, right? And it's not like it's a whole lot of work to sign up for Lyft, right? You guys are going to go and you really want to just think about it from a diversification. Is that the right word? Is that even a word? I think it is. Signing up for a service like Lyft, and I'm going to drop a link right now. You guys can go sign up for Lyft. But just from that perspective, you want to have like an Uber and Lyft. And just going back to the question about delivery, the reason why I signed up for delivery and the reason why I think it's a good option are for two reasons. It's because there are times when Uber and Lyft are slow, right? Maybe lunchtime, right? It's probably the most obvious example. Monday through Friday. That's the busiest time on Postmates and DoorDash, right? So if you guys are really out there, maybe you hate driving during lunch, so obviously delivery might not make a lot of sense for you, but maybe you're thinking about driving during those times, or you want to kind of experiment, or even honestly, a lot of times you can really leverage a lot of these services against each other. And so that's sort of why I'm a big fan of kind of experience. Now, you probably shouldn't go and sign up for a million apps, but hey, the big ones, right, are obviously Postmates, DoorDash, Caviar is another one that we've been talking about on the site a lot, and they're doing a lot of cool things. They're expanding, so that's definitely one to check out. Amazon Flex even, right? there's definitely options for you guys, and what I would recommend is just seeing how it works into your schedule, right? Do some due diligence, check it out, but then at the end of the day, I mean, it's easy to get onboarded with a lot of these services, so test it out a little, right? See if there's opportunity. When these services first launch, there's also a ton of opportunity, right? When Uber Eats first launches in a lot of new cities, they're paying a ton of money, right? They're paying more money than normal, so that's definitely one thing you guys should definitely check out. So hopefully that sort of answers your question as far as the delivery and kind of, so I do think it makes sense to add delivery. It's just, looking at those times when you can leverage delivery. And it looks like I have the sun sort of coming into my face, but hopefully you guys can still see me all right. I'm going to try and close these blinds real quick. But yeah, so obviously going on the fly. Don't have a professional setup in here yet, but hopefully sometime soon. And so I want to answer one cool question that I saw come in, and it looks like it was from Uber Mike Socal. And he asked, have you checked out my Uber YouTube page? And if you have, do you have any suggestions on how to improve, get more subscribers on my Uber Mike Socal page? Well, that's one good way, kind of interacting with me, joining these kind of Q&As, because obviously now I just mentioned your channel, Uber Mike Socal. So people may go and check it out. So I guess the big thing for me is that I'm very collaborative in nature, right? There's no shortage of people out there trying to create content and trying to create information. And I'm a big fan of supporting other people who are doing the same thing, because that's really what I do, right? Some people are very competitive, and I mean, I guess I'm a competitive person, but I'm also very open to collaboration, right? And I think that's a big thing for me. Like, one of the reasons why I think my YouTube channel and my blog got off to such a good start is because I was literally sharing all of my best tips, right? I was sharing everything that I could find. I was going out and detailing my income. I was going out and detailing my expenses, right? And really just kind of trying to help drivers. So for me, that was kind of one thing that's big, and that's one thing that I've always kind of focused on, is basically just helping drivers and kind of establishing that relationship. So for me, I think that if you're out there and you're trying to grow a channel or a Facebook page or whatever it is, it's really all about developing those relationships. You guys are in Facebook groups, and so you understand just how much spam kind of comes in, right? People don't want to see, hey, go check out my channel, go check out this. And that's a lot of what I get. I mean, to be frank, like YouTube and Discuss, which is the comment moderation system that I use on the blog, actually automatically spams, and this is something they do, I don't even do it, basically automatically spams any comment that has a link, right? So if you guys are leaving links to your channel or links to your page, I don't really recommend that. It's really just more that you have to kind of establish those one-on relationships, provide value to drivers, see what problems drivers are having, right? There's problems that drivers are having that I'm not addressing, that we're not addressing on the site or the YouTube channel. We can't do everything, right? So figure out what problems those drivers are having, figure out how to solve them, provide some value, and that's how you kind of create relationships with your audience, right? One of the things that I do that I know not a lot of other bloggers do is I try to respond to every single comment and every single email, right? So for me, I mean, last month we had 800,000 page views on the site. If you email a blogger that has that level of traffic, I have friends that have that much level of traffic, and when I email them who are bloggers, when I email them, they don't even respond to me half the time. So you could imagine that their readers probably aren't getting that type of reaction. So for me, I spend a lot of time replying to comments, replying to emails, because I feel like it establishes that relationship. It's something that drivers are struggling with because they may not be getting good support from Uber, and so when they email me, I sort of want it to be the opposite experience. So hopefully, Mike, that answered your question, and I'm happy to help you more over email and kind of, do anything like that. So along this theme, definitely some good questions coming in. And like I said, I'm going to keep answering as many questions as I can. So just save those questions. If I'm not answering them, copy and paste them. Keep copying and pasting them in, and I'll definitely get to all of them. Try not to ask, more than a million questions, But Jose asked, do you have big competition or anybody that goes against you or calls you out on not being right? And I guess I would say that Rideshare Genius says, Jose, Harry is always right. And I wish that were true, but honestly, guys, I'm not that smart. I just see what other smarter people are doing and try to put my own spin on it. But at the end of the day, I don't really see anyone as competition. I kind of see it as people that I can work with, right? I want people like Rideshare Genius, Uber, Mike, Socal. I want you guys starting channels. I want you guys starting blogs. That's why if you've ever emailed me, I'm always trying to help people. And I might not be able to let you do a guest post or do a link if I've never heard from you. And dude, that's a pretty big ask. But I'm more than happy to give advice or drop a tweet or drop a Facebook if it's something really cool or really engaging. And so that's sort of always been my strategy. And I really think that that type of attitude is contagious, right? Helping other people. And that's sort of how I got my start with this blog, is really helping other people. So if you guys look on my site, I think that I've worked with a lot of the other top bloggers, and I have them all as affiliates for my video course. So a lot of the other top bloggers, Ride Sharing Driver, Rideshare Apps, these are sites you may or may not have heard of. They've done reviews of my course, and they have affiliate links set up for my video training course, which is over at Maximum Ride Sharing Profits. If you guys haven't checked that out, I might as well drop a quick little link in there. And so there's definitely lots of drop that link in, but there's definitely lots of people that I see sort of as competition, but at the same time I try to collaborate with them. Uberman's a good example. He has a huge YouTube channel, way more subscribers than me, but I'm trying to feature as many of his videos as I can. Christian just mentioned it in one of our articles, and I know Uberman does the same for me, right? He went and featured one of our articles in one of his videos. So I think that's sort of what I try to do. Is really, you're right, USOKB is through networking, right? Establishing good relationships with people. So that's really what I try to do. There may be people that are technically my competitors, but I don't really see it that way. I just try to work with everyone, because I also know that I can kind of go and try to outwork every other single person, right? If I'm networking with every other single blogger and they're only doing one or two, then it sort of benefits me in the long run, right? Okay. So, and then along those lines, it seems like I just got a question. Rideshare navigation and safety systems. I want to send you a free new product that will motivate more women to drive and grow ratings and tips. So that's sort of a good example to, not to call you out, but I get dozens of those types of offers. So when you're pitching someone like me, or when you're trying to grow your audience, it's really sort of about establishing a relationship, right? Make it hard for me to say no, because right now I've never heard of this person. They're just coming onto my YouTube live, and I really appreciate it, but at the same time I get dozens of those types of pitches for products and services. And so you can imagine that it's very easy for me to just ignore that request, right? Not to be blunt, well, to be a little bit blunt, but what have you done for me lately, right? If you're out there retweeting my articles and trying to help me grow my channel, and then you ask me to promote this product or service, that's obviously going to be a lot harder for me to say no, right? So I think that's definitely just kind of a general networking tip and just business that you can use in general. So going back to the more difficult questions. I want you guys, feel free to ask me anything difficult. I'm going to throw this out there that I will answer any question that you guys ask, and hopefully you won't make me regret saying that, but I'm going to say that I'm going to try and answer, no question is going to go unturned. I'm not scared of any questions. Hopefully I won't regret that, and as long as you guys, keep it, I guess, PG or whatever, PG-13 at least. So, let's see, what other good questions is, from Rem Singleton. How do we get Uber support to reply? I signed up with your code, and they have been giving me no info or how I would claim my bonus. So the one thing I've found is that just replying to support, obviously there's email, you can email support@uber.com. You don't always get a response, though, it seems like, anymore, and it seems like Uber is really trying to push drivers towards submitting questions through the app. Now, the problem I've found is when I've gone to the Uber driver app and tried to submit a question, it's not always easy to find your problem, right? So I still kind of default to that support@uber.com email. What I try to do is keep it really simple, right? I ask one question at a time, and honestly, you guys, you wouldn't believe some of the emails I get from drivers they'll CC me on their request to support@uber.com, and it'll be 3 pages long. And then they complain to me about how bad Uber support is. And in that case, I think that you need to bear a little bit of the responsibility, You can't be emailing a million different things in one email, right? Keep it simple, right? Uber customer support, they're not drivers, but they can help in a lot of situations, right? They're not perfect, obviously, and we kind of all joke about the often robotic responses and things like that, but keep it simple, right? Get to the point. And then sort of one other thing, kind of last resort. I mean, I've been having good luck too with social media. A lot of times these companies put their best people forward on social media, so you can definitely go check out social media and see what see if there's anyone there that can help you, but also in-person office hours. Now, the problem with you can check ubermovement.com and then type in your city and see where and when in-person office hours. Now, if you're in a smaller city, it may not be in your city. It's typically only in the major to mid-sized markets, and there's sometimes a line, kind of a long line, but that's often the best way where you can get in-person support and you can really get your question answered, right? If it's something super complex, like I can basically tell you, the easier or the simpler the problem, like, hey, Uber support, can you change my picture from this to that? That's something they should be able to handle. Hey, Uber support, I signed up with this code, but then it didn't work, and now I want to reapply this, and now I want to do that. That's not something they're going to be able to handle very easily, and those are typically where you want to try and break it up into multiple questions, or just try to go in person or on social media and see if you can get like one of their top support representatives. So that's definitely something that you can definitely do. Okay, I'm starting to scroll down, and it seems like after some of my questions, someone said, "Can you do a dab?" And I think my wife will. Hopefully, my wife isn't watching this because she always makes fun of me when I do this. But I'll do a quick dab since in honor of Monday Night Football, and so. Hopefully that answered your question as far as getting help from that Uber support. And I see a couple questions coming in about insurance right now, and that's definitely something that, so you guys like my little dab. So yeah, keep the questions coming. That was kind of an easy one, to be honest. A little embarrassing, but I definitely don't mind doing it. And that's right. So I want to answer a couple questions about insurance because I see a couple insurance topics coming in and questions coming in. So, like I said, definitely I'm gonna try to stay on as long as I can and answer as many questions as I can or until my voice dies. So definitely keep asking. And I think that was the only question I saw about insurance. But basically, what do you recommend for insurance coverage that keeps us covered? I feel like I'm driving. So this is from Manuel Lopez. What do you recommend for insurance coverage that keeps us covered? I feel like I'm driving without insurance because Uber or Lyft insurance is contingent to our insurance. So that's a good question for sure. And I'm going to drop a little link right here to our insurance page. So we spent a lot of time. So I have a guy, Scott, that basically helps, does a lot of hours a week for me, and he helps with our insurance marketplace. And this is basically a huge database that we've compiled, and we work directly with these agents who understand rideshare insurance, all that good stuff. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically what you need to know about insurance is that Uber and Lyft cover you on a trip, right? So period 1, period 2, period 3, you guys may be familiar with those terms, but really kind of high level, simply what you need to know during period 2 and 3. So period 2, so period, taking one step back, period 1 starts Period 1 starts when you turn the app on and log into driver mode. You're waiting for a request. That's period 1. Period 2 starts as soon as you accept a request and you're en route to a passenger. Period 3 starts when you press slide to start the trip, right? So in period 2 and 3, basically when you're en route or with a passenger, you actually are covered by Uber or Lyft's insurance. Now, Uber and Lyft both provide $1 million liability, so there's very little issues there. They provide collision insurance directly. So primary collision insurance, well, not primary, but it's sort of primary. That's basically all you need to know. But Uber requires a $1,000 collision deductible. Lyft requires a $2,500 collision deductible, which is expensive. And so basically what happens, let's say you're with a passenger, you get into an accident, you would give Uber or Lyft's insurance and go through their insurance and be covered with the deductible, right? So that's sort of in a nutshell how it works. Now where the sticky kind of issues comes in for, Lyft, I know, because of that $2,500 deductible, right? Where it gets a bit of a gray area, right, is during that period 1, right? Now the period 1 is when hopefully you're sitting there not driving around looking for requests, but obviously there's times where you have to go and, drive or reposition or do whatever you need to do and the app is on. And the problem with that is that Uber and Lyft they provide very little, they provide a lot lower liability limits and no collision coverage. So if you get into an accident during period one, which is granted, it's limited, but if you get into an accident during period one, you have to go to your personal insurance. And the problem is if you're with your personal insurance, they're not going to cover you if you're a rideshare driver. Fortunately, kind of wrapping this all up because this is a big issue, but fortunately, there are multiple options now. There's like 5, 6, 7 options in California that do offer rideshare insurance. It might be anywhere from like $75 to $100 a month, or only 10 to 20% a month more than what you pay for personal insurance. So basically what you want to do, and that's why I listed off that insurance database, which I'll list again, is go check, find an agent. We try to have, I think we have not every state, but all the states where there are available policies. We'll tell you which companies you can go to. Go get multiple quotes, right? Go and figure out if you can get this rideshare insurance, because in a lot of cases you honestly might not even pay that much more, and then you can at least kind of rest assured that you're protected during that period one, and you won't have to kind of be technically like kind of doing this white lie to your insurance company. So hopefully that answers insurance. I know it's not like the coolest topic, and you're right. USOKB says Farmers has it. You just have to pay a little more, right? Geico has it in a lot of states, State Farm, right? So that's really the gist of rideshare insurance. It's something that you should probably look into, at least go and get a quote or two, and make sure that you take care of that, because it is important, right? And I think a lot of people sort of get into this business looking to make a few $100 a month or a few $100 a week, and then they start to realize that there are some additional requirements like tracking your mileage and insurance. And honestly, it's not super hard to do a lot of this. It's just hard to find who you should use or find which app you should use. And that's really what I try to focus on. So we've mentioned a few of these products and services that can really make it easier for you guys, and hopefully they're helping. That's really our goal. So I want to see, what other questions are coming in. And just last thing on the insurance, it looks like Kelly says, I use Farmers in Minnesota and it's close to double what I was paying before. And you're right. Honestly, in some cases, it could be up to double what you're paying before. But I think that's also a function of there just being limited options in your state, right? If there's more options, then I think that the competition tends to bring the prices down. So that's definitely something for you guys to check out. And let's see, what other questions are we getting in here? Is Lyft going to add a destination filter? How soon do you think Lyft Premier will roll out nationwide? And I think I'm going to tackle the destination filter first. So the destination filter is something I already touched on, right? It's obviously a new feature on Uber, and Lyft has actually had it for a while, right? So Lyft has had a destination filter for a while. The only problem with Lyft's destination filter is it only works on Lyft line rides, right? So if you, basically you can, as a Lyft driver, you can set your destination, right? Like, hey, I'm in Los Angeles and I've set my destination as San Diego, and now you're supposed to only get rides headed in that direction. But since it only works with Lyft line rides, obviously there's not very high volume. Lyft already is only 20% market share on average compared to Uber. In bigger cities, it's more, but to kind of give you guys a sense, right? And then Lyft line rides on top of that obviously reduces that even further. I never had good success with Lyft. Lyft's destination filter, I think a lot of other drivers were sort of in that boat. Uber's destination filter, on the other hand, actually works pretty damn well. And like I mentioned, I wrote an article on it. You guys can check that out, but definitely notice with Uber's destination filter, it's working pretty well, and it's matching with a lot more rides just because there's such higher volume. So that's definitely one thing to check out. Sort of a big difference too. So definitely keep the questions coming. Hopefully you guys, we're kind of going to be wrapping up soon. We're at about 46 minutes right now, so I'll keep going for a little while. And I do want to say thank you. I am still going to be doing that giveaway, so hopefully I don't end the stream without forgetting to do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this YouTube live. If there's any other questions, definitely feel free to let me know. Take advantage while you have it. I'll probably go for another 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll keep answering some questions. So let's see, what other good questions? If you guys had tough questions for me, definitely feel free to bring them in here. We've sort of covered insurance. We've kind of covered some of the promoting starting your own blog, starting your own YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And then let's see, what else have we covered? Some of those things. So let's see, what kind of new comments are we getting in here now? Let's see, we've got Is there a movement to keep human drivers in business versus robot cars taking jobs? I sort of already touched on this in the self-driving car theme. I don't know that there's. Oh, that's a good question. I want to answer your question, Kelly. So keep reminding me. I don't know. I think there will be a movement, definitely, because you sort of always have the people, and anytime automation comes and tries to take jobs away from humans, there's always going to be people looking to stop that and sort of halt progress. I don't know that I necessarily completely agree with that line of thinking, but I obviously totally understand that drivers, don't want to completely be replaced by robots. I will say that the average cost to own and operate a car is $8,700 a year. So as people start to get rid of their cars and take more Uber and Lyfts, that's going to be a lot of money now that they have for disposable income. So I do think that's going to create a lot of opportunities. So I don't know that I'm super concerned with that. Another good question. Okay, so I want to answer Kelly's question real quick. Do you prefer driving AM or PM? And so I'd love to hear. So this is a good question. I'd love to hear from you guys if you prefer doing AM or PM. I think for me, honestly, I've never been a big mornings person. I get up around 7 or 8 and start working, but I've always been the type of person who kind of enjoys working at night, and especially with like the Uber and Lyft driving, since I've always done it part-time. I've never worked 40 to 50 hours a week as an Uber and Lyft driver. I sort of enjoy that night driving and kind of dealing with people who, basically whether they're drunk or whatever. And obviously it does get old after a while for sure, but for me, I think I've always been more of a nighttime driver. So that's my personal preference. And then Mark asks, how can I get you as my driver if I was in Long Beach? So that's actually a good question, because this is one thing that I really focused on a lot when I was first getting started as a driver. And it doesn't work well in every city or every situation. But I mean, let's say you're a driver who, for a while there, I was driving from Orange County up to LA frequently to visit my family, and you find a passenger who also needs to go that same route, right? And that's the type of situation where it might make sense to kind of have these business cards that you can give to them, and you're still doing the rides on the app, right? So you don't have to kind of worry about the illegality of doing it off the app, but you're arranging these kind of long rides. So I've definitely done that in the past with some passengers. Mark, I don't really necessarily do that anymore, but I would say my advice to you, Mark, would be to go and look for, if you're having special drivers that you like, or someone that you think is going above and beyond for those, it doesn't make sense for like a 5 to 10 minute ride, but if you're constantly, every day you need a ride in or out of the city, you can probably find a driver who's willing to do that, and kind of those types of basically building your own passenger network on top of the Uber platform. So yeah, and let's see, what other questions? Oh, we finally got a question about Juno, and so this question comes from, where'd it go? I already missed it. Red Vision 101. So welcome to the live. I think this is the first question I've seen from Red Vision. Will Juno take out Uber and Lyft in California? And that's a good question. First of all, obviously they're only in New York as of right now, and New York is a pretty atypical Uber market since they require commercial insurance and TLC licensing. So it's basically the costs to start are much higher. A lot of people go through fleet owners, even on Uber X. It's a little bit of a different market. And honestly, I'm a little biased. I think a lot of drivers are biased because we want to see Juno succeed. But I think they have really great marketing. I think that like going and targeting the drivers, providing them equity, kind of addressing all the top pain points for drivers is pretty smart. And I think that strategy is going to be smart. I mean, I even saw a receipt on a passenger receipt, because I'm curious how they're going to market the passengers. I think that's going to be the big challenge for Uber when they start expanding to other cities, right? Do passengers care enough that Juno treats their drivers better? And I'm not sure, because kind of you guys have all probably experienced an Uber passenger that gets into the back of your car and doesn't say anything and just sits there and stares at their phone. Can't imagine that driver cares a ton about, or that passenger cares a ton about the driver. But I mean, Juno is doing some impressive things, like some of the marketing I've seen. Even I saw on the receipt of a passenger, they basically said, hey, your driver made X dollars per more on this ride because of us, and they're happy, they would have made less on Uber. That kind of messaging I think is pretty smart. So definitely think that there's room for more competitors, and obviously, the more competition definitely benefits drivers, because Uber is no fool. They might not be watching Juno's every move, but you can guarantee that Juno and Lyft start adding these driver friendly features, obviously Uber is going to take notice, and that's what we've seen. I mean, just in this past year, Lyft started doing their express pay, and then a few months later Uber did instant pay, right? And there's definitely driver friendly features that Lyft has added that Uber has just gone and copied. So I don't know that that's definitely not a bad thing. I definitely think it's a good thing for drivers. So let's see, what else are we getting? One more try from Make Peace. How does Uber determine the surge rate, i.e., how many requests over drivers does it take to get a surge in higher numbers? Therefore, when does it make sense to chase the red? And I guess what I would say to that is that I haven't found. That's sort of one of my most popular YouTube videos, is basically that you should never chase the surge, right? Because there's always going to be other drivers sort of heading to that area. And by the time you get there, that's sort of how surge works, right? When there's low demand or high demand and low supply of drivers, there's surge, right? So as that surge area goes, right, maybe more drivers flock to that area and those requests get filled. So over time, it makes sense that the surge goes down. So that's why it really never makes sense to chase surge. Maybe it works here and there, but as a whole, as a strategy, I don't think it works well. But on the other hand, if you can predict the surge, right, like the most obvious time is when the bars are closing, right? Of course, drivers have kind of tried to wait and see, hey, I'm going to wait until it hits 2x, 3x, 4x, and kind of wait out that surge until it gets to that peak and then go, right? Those are the times when you can really kind of take advantage of that surge, or if there's special events or concerts and you know that it's going to surge at certain times. So it's definitely balancing that type of stuff. One other question that I saw, let's see. So I think I missed a few. Sorry. I think someone asked a question about doing Uber in their PJs. I had a driver the other day. I was an Uber passenger the other day, and this was on Select too, and he was in board shorts and a tank top. So I don't know that it really matters. And that's actually a good question though, because honestly, I don't know that it really matters. Like, you could wear just a little cheap t-shirt. This was like a $12 shirt that I bought, right? And I probably have worn Uber driving multiple times. I don't know that it really matters what you're wearing or what you're doing. Like, number one is safety and navigation and doing a good job at the actual driving portion. But you can imagine that if you're on the borderline, if you're on the borderline of 4.6, 4.7, or if you're just getting started, it probably makes sense to kind of go a little bit above and beyond just in case. So I guess that would be my advice, is that when you're first getting started, maybe dress a little bit more respectably, and then once you kind of become an OG driver and you know exactly what it takes to have a 4.8, 4.9, then go drive in whatever you want, whatever's comfortable. So typically I think I go with at least like a somewhat respectable t-shirt, or a shirt like a little cheap collared shirt, and then shorts or pants depending on the weather. So that's what I drive in. But yeah, honestly, like I will say, Leslie kind of chimes in that I wouldn't want my driver to be in PJs. Professionalism goes a long way. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Let's see, what other questions? Rigo asked, do you rate your passengers 4 stars below on Uber pools? And me personally, no, I don't really see a reason why I would rate a passenger low for Uber pool. And this is actually a good question, because I've heard of some, I think it's very few drivers that might rate lower because their passengers aren't tipping, or they're taking Uber pool or doing short rides. And honestly, you can do that. You're obviously free to do whatever you want, but I don't really think that it's a passenger's fault for the way that Uber's system. How can you punish a passenger for there not being an in-app tipping option, right? So it's things like that. Yeah, of course you could rate a passenger lower for that, but I would rather kind of take it up with Uber. That's a you and Uber problem, and I actually agree with that, right? That's a problem, but I'm never going to kind of take it out on a passenger. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. So let's see. A.S. Deming asks, I know keeping water and phone chargers in my car for riders is a good idea. Is there anything else you make sure to have while you're out driving? And I guess what I would say is that honestly, I don't really do water and gum and mints anymore. I do provide it actually sometimes on Lyft rides. I'll bust it out because there's the option of getting a tip. But honestly, on Uber, I don't think it makes sense anymore to provide those types of extras if you're, as a general rule of thumb. So most drivers aren't doing that anymore, providing things like tangible things like water, or I guess I would say like things that you have to replenish, like water, gum, mints. I don't think many Uber drivers are really doing that anymore because there's not a whole lot of incentive. I mean, like if you think about it from a business perspective, like what's your return on that investment? Is it going to get you higher ratings? Okay, so if you're struggling with ratings, you're at 4.6, 4.7, maybe you offer a little extras so that you can make sure you stay active on the platform. But I think right now I'm at like a 4. I think I was at 4.93 or 4, and I must have had a bad rating or two because I dropped down to 4.91, and maybe it was because I didn't provide water or mints, who knows. But at a 4.91 versus a 4.8, there's really no difference, right? Like it's a pride thing, but it's also, when you think about it from that business perspective, there's no return. Now, if I was going out and really trying to get tips and throwing up a tip sign or something like that, maybe now I'm going to go and provide that water, and I'll provide like a little square sign so that people can tip me over a square reader and things like that. But I try more now to provide those things that's like a one-time investment, that's a business write-off or expense, like a phone charger, right? Like obviously I have to use a phone charger anyway, so providing an extra one to the riders is sort of a no-brainer, right? Things like that you don't have to constantly replenish, I think are generally better investments when you're not looking for that type of return. So I think a couple people sort of chimed in that water service ended in 2014 for me. So yeah, that's definitely something I've found. And let's see, what other questions? I'm going to answer a few more questions here. We're at about 58, 59 minutes right now, so I'll go for a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to get them in right now, and I'll try to answer them. And if you have any follow-up questions, definitely let me know. I got to keep on reminding myself I want to give away this swag, so don't worry, only a couple more minutes, and you guys can get that going. A couple other questions that I want to answer is that, let's see. I saw a question come in from Paul. How do I get rideshare started in my hometown? That's a good question. Honestly, over the past year, Uber has been really launching in a lot of smaller cities, right? 100,000 people or less. I don't know that there's a great way for you to kind of go out and get it started other than kind of just like rallying the support around your town. I mean, maybe starting one of those online petitions or something like that. Bring Uber to my town, right? Just kind of focus on the college scene, the bar crowd, people like that, and showing it to Uber. I think ultimately, though, it's more likely that, hey, Uber is going to go do it when they're good and ready. But hey, it probably can't hurt to go to the local Uber office hours and say, hey, we have this burgeoning market, right? We have all these people who want to take rideshare. We have all these people who want to take Uber. Make it hard for them to say no, right? If you just tell them, hey, we want Uber, it's going to be easy for them to say no. So I guess that would sort of be my advice, is if you want Uber to come to your town and it's not there yet, show them why they have to say yes, right? Whether it's gathering like 1,000 signatures, or you're going to find 100 drivers who want to sign up for Uber, or something like that. Make it hard for them to say no, as opposed to just saying, hey, I want Uber to come here. So another question I just got really quickly, do you prefer Waze or Google Maps? This is an easy one for me. I always use Google Maps because I'm not a big fan of all the crap that comes through on Waze, and I kind of just like, hey man, I just want to go to my route and just get that done. So that's for me. I'm more of a fan of Google Maps, and we actually just released a video on Waze and Google Maps. So I'll try to leave links to all this stuff in the show notes, because we definitely cover a lot of this info. So hopefully I've been able to answer a lot of your questions. I want to do this little swag giveaway right now. So I'll show you guys the swag right here. If you guys made it all the way, it looks like we got about 40, 50 people that made it all the way. So thank you for that. Got the swag right here, a few different colors. I have more colors too that I'll go ahead and send you guys. And basically what I want you to do to enter is, so if you're watching this video on Monday, October 3rd, that's the only way to enter. If you watch this on any date past October 3rd, unfortunately you're not going to be able to enter. But I do give away a ton of swag, so that'll probably come no problem. But basically what you guys need to do in order to enter is, I want you guys to shoot me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com. Don't leave a comment on this video because it's going to be hard for me to find it. But shoot me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com, and just say in the subject line, YouTube Live. And then from there, you can just say hi or something like that in the actual body of the message. I don't know how many responses I'll get, but I'm going to pick 3 winners. So just to be clear on that, send me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com, and put in the subject line YouTube Live, and then say, hey, swag, something like that, and I'll go ahead and pick 3 winners. You need to enter today, though, on Monday, October 3rd at the end of the night. I'll check it, and then that way I'll send out, probably pick 3 people. If I don't get a ton of entries, maybe I'll send it to everyone. But I guarantee at least 3 hats will go out, and I'll get you guys a mailing address and favorite color. So Harry at therideshareguy.com, pretty easy, and that's actually the first test. You have to be able to figure out how to email me. So I do appreciate you guys coming on. Rideshare Genius, thank you for reminding me. Definitely give me a quick thumbs up if you like this video. If you didn't like this video, leave me a comment and tell me why. Say I need to get a haircut, or I need to talk less, or whatever you want. But feel free to give me constructive criticism. I always appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate everyone who was able to make it. I think I was hopefully able to answer a lot of the questions that came through. I know I didn't get to everything, and some people are coming on with some more questions here. But definitely feel free, if it's really important, shoot me an email or leave me a comment on one of my videos, or maybe I'll go and even make a video for you. I'm going to try and do another YouTube live in about a month, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Stay tuned, and if you want to enter that swag giveaway, shoot me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com, subject YouTube live, and also give me a little thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, right there, because we release 2 videos a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're releasing lots of cool content on YouTube, and obviously lots of blogs over on the rideshareguy.com. So hopefully you guys enjoy this, and yes, we will be doing it again. I had a lot of fun, and I would love to interact with you guys more, and I'll figure out how to start on time and make sure I work out all the technical glitches and everything like that. So without further ado, talk to you guys later. Take care.